Hi, Patty. How are things in your neck of the woods?
Hi, Heather. Things are pretty good over here.
I guess we've got a bit of a lag, or maybe it's a province thing. I don't know.
That's right. You guys aren't allowed over here, so
I'm making my way in. So
that's right.
I was thinking how fortunate it is that you're already kind of homesteading because life must be pretty much more or less not at all status quo.
Yeah, it's actually, it's pretty normal for us here. I've got lots of land, so we can be outside lots, and we've got our chickens and gardening, all that stuff happening. And I actually think about you guys in this city quite often and how different it must be just walking down the street and seeing tons of people and things like that. So it's probably affects you a little bit more than it does for us, but um, I know even yesterday I had to go to the grocery store, and it was like this big adventure of, going into the city and going to the grocery store and what's going to happen. It's such an interesting time right now.
It sure is. It's surreal most of the time. But I wanted to talk
It,
to you as a certified natural health practitioner, and we're both mutually admiring of things to do with the subconscious mind. I wanted to get your perspective on dealing with this and how our subconscious beliefs are really going to either help or hinder us in this time of change.
well, it's going to do both. It's going to help us and hinder us, because I think our subconscious mind is more powerful than our conscious mind, and we're often not actually aware of what is in our subconscious. So we may be thinking in our minds that things are okay, that we're going to get through, and all these positive things, and yet we find that there's fears or anxieties coming up, and we don't know where they're coming from. Yes, they may be coming from things we hear on the media or whatnot, but some of it can come from our traumas, or just our experiences of childhood and what we've learned about um, things like this, or about if there are problems going on, what happens, and we can get stuck in those subconscious thoughts, and then we're playing them out in our everyday life, and we don't even realize it.
That's very true. The coping skills we've been taught might have helped us at one time. They might serve us now. On the other hand, they might actually be trapping us more and not allowing us to see how we can look at this differently. And that's something I've really been thinking a lot about, is when we come out of this, it's going to be a completely different world. And what will we do with it then? So forward thinking, but still being present. And what would you tell people about coping, and if their fears are coming up because of their subconscious beliefs?
Well, really is, we need to pay attention to them, for one thing. It's important for us to realize that, we all have fears. We all have what people will call, say, negative thoughts. So angers, frustrations, sadness, grief, all those things, we need to pay attention to them. Where are they coming from? Why do we have them? And, when we can pay attention and be aware that, yes, we have this, it's okay, then we can actually move forward. What I'm finding is that for many people, the more awareness we have of what's actually going on in our bodies, the easier we can move through it. So we don't have to necessarily, say, oh, I'm angry, and this is what I'm angry about, and I have to go through the whole motion of making it better. Or I'm scared, and this is, I'm scared that this virus may catch me, or that I'm going to give it to someone else. What we need to do is say, okay, this is there.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I feel it. And once we actually become aware like that, it is amazing how quickly it will disappear for us. And, because sometimes those fears are actually coming back to, like we were talking about, those subconscious beliefs. And so it may actually be triggering a belief or a fear from our childhood that we have forgotten about. Our subconscious is holding on to it. And so we held that fear to protect ourselves from something then, but it may no longer be helping us. And so by just simply identifying and saying, yeah, I'm afraid right now. I'm not sure what's going to happen. That's okay. And so what I find, however, is that people get caught up in it, right? As we all do with many of our thoughts. And it becomes this energy that just kind of swirls around our head and can't go anywhere because we keep thinking and thinking and thinking. So we can really try and grasp that energy, if you want to say, and bring it down into our bodies, and it will dissipate, and we'll stop thinking so much, and it'll actually help us to get through these times.
So how would you suggest that you bring it from up here down here? Like, I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, for sure. So what really works for me is I simply close my eyes and I imagine that my hands are on my belly, just below my belly button. Or I bring my hands there and I just imagine energy coming in through the top of my head and going all the way down to my belly. And so what happens is it just draws that energy really quickly into our bellies. It can also work if we're having lots of emotion. You know, we talk about really looking into our hearts and feeling, which is really important too. But again, it then gets caught up, right? And these circles of these harder, challenging emotions happen. So again, it's bringing all that energy into our abdomen. I call it the power center. And what that does is it allows the energy to ground into the earth, and you'll just feel calmer. Like it just has to happen that way because your energy's not up here. So most of society is really used to being up here, right? And now we're in a time, because we've been forced to slow down, we're in a time where all of that stuff's like, it's too much, right? We all carry stress, but we're noticing it even more now. And so we have to be able to ground it. And we hear from many, different sources about grounding, but I'm finding at this time, it's really, really important because we just will get caught up, and right now we're also at a time of being in the now, right? Being present. We don't know what's going to happen next week, right? Like, let alone tomorrow. Things keep changing. So the more we can stay in the present and keep that energy within our bodies, we're going to be able to get through this in a much easier way without being, too wound up in our fears.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that when they go into nature, or they do a walking meditation, or any of these various tools that we have. What my intention is to give a lot of different tools to people, and then they pick and choose which ones they want. I should say also that the subconscious mind is responsible for 90 or 95% of everything. So I think it's very important to focus on connecting to that part of ourselves, and that's one thing you do with theta healing. Can you explain a little about that?
Yeah, so it's going back to mostly to our childhood, to figure out what are some of those subconscious beliefs that we're holding. And these come without us even realizing it. So we take on these beliefs super fast. And it may even be something as simple as, you come from a large family and you're the youngest of, say, 4. And you feel like, as mom is busy doing all of her work around the house, and maybe she works out of the house as well, that you just don't have time with her. And, there's good reasons, because obviously mom's very busy. However, as a child, you may take that on as, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of my mother's attention. So, it just comes on like that. And that we then hold that throughout our lives, our adult lives even. It goes into I am not worthy. I'm not valuable. And so this just then keeps playing on us. And we don't even realize we have this belief because it happened when we were 2, 3, maybe even younger. However, it keeps playing out that, you know, maybe it's hard to get a relationship because you don't feel worthy, or it's hard to get a really good job because you're not worthy. All these little things. So with the work that I do, it's going back to figure out where that came from. And it's not about having to relive any traumas or anything from the past. It's just saying, okay, where did you feel that? Oh, at 2? All right, we're going to go back and we clear it on an energetic perspective. So we work with the DNA, the spiritual DNA, and we work with all the cellular memory in our bodies. So our bodies remember everything that has happened to us. And we can then go to that cellular memory and say, you know what, that was helpful then. It's not now. I'm just going to remove it. And we actually have then found the piece that it's like a part of your identity. You know, you become that I am not worthy person. It's like when, you know, some people will talk about themselves. I am this disease. I am diabetic. I have this, you know, I have osteoporosis, whatever it may be, it becomes part of their identity. So what we have to do is actually remove that identity. And once we can do that, and it actually is a really, really simple process, because once our body tells us this is what's going on, it's telling us, I want to get rid of it. So it's through an energy process that's really simple. We just remove it, and then, you know, we bring in energy that makes it what you want, your body, what you want it to be, so that you are worthy. You are that person that you really want to be.
Yeah, it's similar to timeline therapy in NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And it's interesting how the subconscious just keeps coming up in different ways, and how our bodies and minds and spirit all are working together. But sometimes we forget that, as you say, the arthritis or the osteoporosis or whatever it may be is so linked to the mind and the beliefs in the mind, and then translates into something physical in the body. So Patty, aside from your website, is there another resource for people? I'll put the link for your website at the bottom of this video, but anything else you'd like to share?
Right now, just the website. I'm working on updating it. It's been a little bit. And, you know, now in the time of Zoom and these online everything, I'm working on doing some kind of maybe a workshop, or just you know, meeting kind of group things. So those will be added to my website once they're ready.
That sounds perfect. And if people want to contact you, your contact information is on the website?
It is, yep.
Okay. Thanks so much, Patty. This has been great.
Thanks, Heather. It's great to see you.
I hope to see you soon. Ish. Have a good day.
You too.